Hi there, I'm Gus from Relate Corp, and this is going to be a demo of Awala on desktop. I'm going to be using Windows to demonstrate how Awala will allow local apps to send and receive data without access to the internet, but the same app also works on macOS and Linux. And we have a separate app for Android. So the first thing that we'll do is we're going to go ahead and start the Awala app. And in this case, I do have access to the internet. So as a user, there is nothing for me to do with this app because I only need to use it when I'm not connected to the internet. So I can just close it. And as you can see, it will continue to run in the background. So now I can just use any Awala compatible app that I have on my computer. Right now, we don't really have an app for the general public because we just finished building Awala on desktop, but we do have a utility that we use internally to test Awala itself. So basically, what this tool does is that it sends a message to a server on the internet and it lets us know when we've got a response to that message. So in this case, as you can see, it took like 3 seconds to send that message, which clearly is less than ideal considering that we have access to the internet. So that's going to be one of the areas in which we're going to be working on going forward to make it much quicker. But as you can see, we can send and receive data to the internet via Awala. And basically, what happens here is that the apps are not actually connected to the internet directly. They are just using Awala to send and receive any data. So right now, we are just sending some dummy messages. But if we were using Twitter and the Twitter app supported Awala, then we will be able to send tweets and get our home feed with and without access to the internet, thanks to Awala. Um, any app can use Awala as long as it doesn't need a real-time connection to the internet. Like, for example, a video conferencing software will not work, but anything else that doesn't need a live connection to the internet will work. So with that in mind, now let's test the situation where we don't have access to the internet. So I'll disconnect from my network and I'll try to send another message to the internet. As we can see, the app is able to send the message to Awala, but we're not getting anything back, and we know why. So what's happening behind the scenes is that Awala is buffering the outgoing data until either the connection to the internet is restored or we manage to send that data with a courier. And we're going to demonstrate the latter now. So an Awala courier is somebody that relays the data physically between a region disconnected from the internet and a location connected to the internet. So I'll show you what the courier sees on their phone. So in this case, we're going to be using Android. The courier does not have access to the internet, of course. So when they open the Awala Courier app, what they see is the option to synchronize with users nearby. And for this, we are going to be using the Wi-Fi hotspot on the courier's device. Uh, but the Wi-Fi hotspot is only used to synchronize data locally because, again, there is no access to the internet. So the app tells us that we need to enable the Wi-Fi hotspot, and then we go back to the app and we can synchronize with people around us if we are the courier. So now, as the user, I'm going to open the Awala app and I'll connect to the Wi-Fi network of the courier. And as you can see, Awala detected that connection. And as you may have noticed, I already had the Wi-Fi password stored, but if you didn't, then you will have to enter it at that point. So now we are ready to synchronize data with the courier. And just like us, there may be other people at the same time connected to the same courier synchronizing data with them. So I'll go ahead and press that button. So now we just sent the data that we had buffered. We sent it to the courier, and we are now collecting the data that is coming from the internet. And now we are now we can just close the synchronization. Of course, there is no incoming data at this point because we just got disconnected from the internet, and we managed to send and receive the messages before, so there was nothing on its way to us. So as a courier, now if I don't have any other users that are waiting to synchronize with me, so I'll just stop that synchronization and I'll simulate going to a location with access to the internet now. So the way I'll do that is I'll simply enable Wi-Fi on the phone, and then you'll see that the app now gives me the option as a courier to synchronize with the internet. So I'll tap that button. So we just sent the data that we collected along the way. We are now waiting for the incoming data that should be going to the people that we synchronized with before. We're waiting for it to become available. And now it's available and we just collected it. So at this point, as a courier, I can go back to the region disconnected from the internet so that people nearby can connect to it, connect to my phone to synchronize data. So again, as a courier, I've now made it possible for people around me to connect to my phone to synchronize data. And as a user, I need to connect to the Wi-Fi network of the courier. So again, we are ready now as a user. But before I press that button, let me just uh, bring back the window where we are expecting the message to be displayed when we synchronize. So now we're doing that synchronization with the courier. So we sent any outgoing data, and we got, in this case, the one message that we were expecting. So that's it, basically. So if we had, at this point, we managed to send all the data, we managed to receive all the data that we have coming our way. And if we had any new data that should be going to the internet, then the Awala app would have sent it to the courier at this point. One thing that you may also want to know is that if the data were to get lost in transit, like for example, the courier uninstalled the app at some point, then the Awala app will continue to send the data at the next opportunity, and it will keep on doing that for as long as the data is valid. So the data will not be lost just because it gets lost in transit. So that's basically it. If you want to learn more about Awala, I recommend that you visit awala.network, or if you've got any questions, please leave a comment below. Thank you very much for watching.